Of the Ramakrishna order. He joined as a monk in the Ramakrishna order more than 40 years back in USA. He is widely travelled and is a prolific writer and a very versatile speaker. He has been speaking to different groups in different parts of the world. He has been in India for the past 3 years associated with the work of revision of the 9-volume complete work of Swami Vivekananda. Revered Maharaj will speak to us on the subject Youth as Global Citizen. Revered Swami Atmarupanandaji.
May the winds blow sweetly. May the rivers flow sweetly. May the herbs yield us sweetness. Sweet be the night and the break of day. Sweet be the very dust of the earth. May the heavens pour down sweetness upon us. May the trees, lords of the forest, bear us sweetness. May the sun shed its sweetness upon us. May all the directions pour forth sweetness. Oh, sweetness, sweetness, sweetness. Namaste. Salam alaikum. Alaikum assalam. Shalom. Hi. And I just came from the great state of Meghalaya, the Khasi Hills, where they say Kublai, Kublai. Greetings to all of you. My pranams to revered Swami Atmarupanandaji Maharaj, a Swami that I have known and respected since I first met him in Mumbai in 1971. Actually, I've been a monk of the order. This is my 46th year as a member of the order. And I met Swami Atmarupanandaji. I met him in 1971 and have been very benefited by my association with him since that time. And Abdul Malik Mujahid, respectful greetings to him and to all of you who are here, to all of the guests and all of the delegates, all of the youth. I had the great blessing of being here for the first International Youth Conference, and so I was delighted when Swami Nikhileshwaranandaji invited me back for the second. And so I'm very happy to be here. And as you heard, maybe you didn't hear because there was a lot of noise in the beginning, I'm to speak on youth as global citizens. And one of my Swami friends just suggested I should change it to youth as netizens. But I will stick to the original topic as youth as global citizens. So why be global? Why should we, youth as global citizens indicates that it's a good thing to be global, that we want to be global, that youth should be global citizens. So let me ask an obvious question. Why should we want to be global? Why be global? Well, first of all, it's something in the air. You could say it's part of the modern ethos, part of the spirit of modern times. People want to be global. You even go now to a small village in India, and people want to know about other countries, what people are doing, what they're like. When I first came to India in 1971, at that time it was quite different. When you went to a remote village, you were really remote, really remote. Now you go to a place like Mayavati in Uttarakhand in the Himalayas, where I lived for 5 years, long back. And one of the workers at our Mayavati ashram, who I knew back in the 1970s, someone from a very small village, very backwards at that time. Many of the women couldn't even speak Hindi. They only knew their local Pahari, Kumaoni. But this villager started talking to me about global warming. And then he told me about what he had seen on television. When I lived in Mayavati in the 1970s, we hardly had electricity. And once you were there, you were cut off from the world. Cut off from the world. The head of our ashram died while I was there, Swami Atmarupanandaji. He passed away. And he passed away in Bareilly, only maybe, 100 kilometers away or something. It took us 1 week to find out that he had passed away. 1 week for a telegram to reach us, letting us know that he had passed away. And now you find that even in villages in Kumaon, villages in Meghalaya and other places, people want to know about the world. Oh, and I just thought of something. I'm not answering my phone, don't worry. I just remembered I'm supposed to keep track of time and I don't have a watch. So being global, it's the part of the spirit of the age. Swami Vivekananda used to say that expansion is life, contraction is death. Expansion is life, contraction is death. One of the things you'll find with Swami Vivekananda, if you study him, and I recommend everyone to study him, is that so many places throughout his complete works you'll find little epigrams, little aphorisms, little sutras that are so full of meaning. You know, in India, the philosophers, the philosophical systems went through a period when they began to write the sutras, the Brahma Sutras, the Yoga Sutras, the Sankhya Sutras, and other sutras, where they put the whole of their philosophy in very short epigrammatic form. Because in that short form, a tremendous amount of meaning could be contained. And you find that Swami Vivekananda did that even in English. English doesn't lend itself to sutras like Sanskrit does, but you find in Swami Vivekananda, life is expansion. Expansion is life, contraction is death. And that one sutra, you find a secret of life. And so that also is why we want to be global, not just because it's the spirit of the age. Spirits of the age come and go. But a principle doesn't come and go. Life is expansion and contraction is death. Another reason why we want to be global now is that Swami Vivekananda also said something that we now know even more than 100 years ago. He said that all problems today have to be approached from an international level. All problems have an international aspect. The day when we can just solve local problems locally, that's gone. Everything is tied into everything else. Pollution in America, that affects India. Pollution in India affects America. The climate is being affected all over the world. The quality of the air, the quality of the water. The oceans themselves are becoming like cesspools. Many, many miles of garbage floating in islands of garbage in the middle of the ocean. The oceans are dying. And so what happens in one part of the world affects the other parts of the world also. So we must be global today. Not just because it's the spirit of the age, but because it's the necessity of the age. So why be global? Because we have to be global. Why youth? Youth as global citizens. Why youth as global citizens? Why not just let all of us be global citizens? Well, we all should be global citizens, but there's a reason for taking youth. And not just because it's a youth conference. That's one good reason, but that's not the only reason for taking youth. One thing is that you, the youth of India and the youth of the world, youth from here from different countries, you're more connected to the world than any generation ever in the history of the world. Through social media, through the internet, through email, through texting, you're connected to the world in a way which was never before possible. And that, every age, the technology affects the awareness of people. And so you, as the people who are growing up with connectivity, I'm connected. I'm on Facebook. I use email all of the time. Not all of the time. I'm not using it right now, but I use it a lot. But I'm also connected, but I didn't grow up with it. I was 41 years old before I got my first computer. And that was a time when many people were just starting to get computers. And email started, I had email at that time, but it was very primitive. Email didn't really start until the mid-1990s. And the internet didn't really get going as a popular thing until the late 1990s. And so I didn't grow up with it. You were growing up with it. You, as the youth of the world, you're growing up with connectivity. And so you are connected. Because you're connected in a way that people have never been before, and because transportation, communication, everything has brought people closer together, then there's an interest in the world also. You see on the news, you look on the news here in India, you see what's happening in America, in South America, in Africa, in Australia. Even if you want to avoid knowing what's going on in the world, it's very hard to do it unless you bury your head. Where you look, you're being bombarded with information about the whole world. And so people are connected and people are interested because they're beginning to find out about things in the world. When I was in India first in the early 1970s, 1971, then I came back in 75 and lived in India for 7 years at that time. At that time here in India, the average person's idea of the world was very skimpy. There was very little knowledge of the world, except for those who, for business reasons or whatever, or educational reasons, had traveled. But the general knowledge of the world was very small. Now, the knowledge of the world, again, a villager, uneducated villager, barely able to read and write in Kumaon, starts discussing climate change with me and telling me what he's seen on television about the changing climate. So connectivity, people are interested, and also one of the more important reasons why youth should be thought of as the coming global generation is the idealism of youth. The idealism of youth. Youth is naturally idealistic. Why are youth from different countries, even highly developed countries, why are youth going and joining ISIS and so groups like that, terrorist groups? It's because of misplaced idealism. It's idealism which is leading them to that. But it's, for whatever reason, the failures of society, the failures of the older generation or whatever, not providing them channels for, higher channels for idealism, people take it to in lower directions. But the motivation is the same. Why would someone give up family, give up career, give up education, give up a comfortable life in a developed country to go and fight in the deserts of Iraq, Syria, maybe get blown up? It's because of idealism. Idealism, but misplaced idealism. So youth is a time of idealism. Youth is a time when you believe that I can do something. You believe that the world is in front of me and life can be different. I don't have to accept all of the old definitions of what's possible. Life stands before me as possibility. So I'm idealistic as a youth, and I'm not weighed down by the past, as older people often become. We who are older don't have to be weighed down by the past, but the unfortunate reality is that we often are. But when you're young, you have life ahead of you. You have possibility ahead of you. There's so many things that you can do. It's just a question of making choices and then applying yourself. Which brings me to another reason for why youth as global citizens. Because of energy. Because of energy. Because you have tremendous energy. I find that generally young people sleep a lot more than I do, but that's because they have so much energy that they're using so much energy they have to sleep more than I do. So you have idealism and you have the energy to carry things out. You can actually do something with your idealism. You're not weighed down by the past. You can foresee possibilities. Possibilities that many of us who have grown older no longer see. Possibilities we can't even dream of. You can see possibilities. So this is an extraordinary time for you, because of energy, because of idealism, because of interest, because of connectivity, because the whole world has come together. And again, coming back to the need for being global, the need is because, as I said, problems are interconnected nowadays. Economies are interconnected. I wrote a guest editorial for one of our magazines, the Prabuddha Bharata, when the editor was sick back in, I think it was 1995, when I was visiting India. And at that time I chose the topic of the interconnection between economies, India connecting to the world economy, because at that time still it was a debate going on in India whether India should keep its economy more isolated or whether it should connect. Now the economy of India is fully connected, technologically connected, economically connected, and climatically connected in so many ways. We're connected. So we have to be global in order to approach the problems. So how to become global citizens? One is through expansion. We start out life, children in a family. I believe, unless there was a mistake, has the time been cut down to, I was given 20 minutes, it looks like it's been cut down, right? Is it? Oh, but I saw 45. Oh, thank you. No, that's okay. So, we start with our families as children, as infants, then we grow to a circle of friends, then we expand to school and our school friends, and through school, through education, we began to expand more. Education is one of the great opportunities to expand the mind. Through learning, what are we learning? In one sense, we're learning to be bigger. We're learning to be bigger. Education teaches us who we are. It teaches us where we came from. It teaches us what all of this is, and it teaches us how we're connected to it. So we start out with our parents telling us about the world, about our family, and then a little bit about the world, and we connect with friends, we learn more, we go to school, connect more, and then we begin to learn. Every subject that you study is like a language, teaching you about the world, teaching you about yourself. And so the people have asked me, how can I become a better student? The best way to become a better student is to see the purpose of your education. Why am I studying what I'm studying? And then to learn to love it. If you love it, then the question need not arise, how can I become a better student? Because you love what you're doing, and you'll engage yourself in your studies. As a student, I didn't like history, up until I had a professor who explained to me that history was not about memorizing dates and names. That's what I didn't like about it. I just had to sit and memorize all of these dates and names and who went where when, and I hated it. But then the professor told me, no, history teaches you who you are and where you've come from. It teaches you about your past, what has made you into who you are. And the history of the world is connected to us as well. In the same way with the arithmetic, I hated arithmetic as a kid, but then I had a math teacher who showed me the meaning of mathematics. He showed me the very purpose and the language of mathematics, and then it became my best subject, my favorite subject. So if we learn the purpose of anything, we find that everything is interesting. Everything in the world is interesting. So education. Another way to become such is through respect. Whatever we respect, that gives its best to us. If we respect the world gives its best to us. If we respect other people, they give their best to us. So as youth, it's often when we're young, it's often easy to disrespect everybody and think, well, those old guys, they don't know anything. I'm a young guy, I know everything. No. If you respect everybody, it doesn't mean you have to believe everybody. It doesn't mean that you have to accept what everybody tells you. But respecting everybody, you'll find that everybody gives their best to you in return. It's just a natural law, a psychological law. Love is another way that we become global citizens, by learning to love. Yes, love is natural to the human heart, but as we grow up, we learn how not to love also. Don't love these people, don't love those people, don't love these people. These people are different, don't love them. These people are troublemakers, don't love them. No, learn to love. Learn to open your heart. Learn to open your heart to the whole world, and I'll speak about in a moment about that in conclusion. Another way of becoming a global citizen is through service. Through service. As part of respect, as part of love, learn to serve everyone. You see someone who needs help, a fellow student. You see an elder who needs help. You see someone younger who needs help. Wherever you can give help quietly, unobtrusively, without bothering the person, but genuinely helping, then you'll learn that that expands you. That expands your whole world. And it makes you connected to the world by serving. Whenever you feel cut off from life, when you feel little, when you feel small, when you feel insignificant, reach out a helping hand to somebody, and immediately you find yourself bigger. You find yourself connected to the life of the world. So don't cut yourself off. Learn to expand. And then spirituality. Through spirituality is the highest way to feel connected to the whole world. Because through the Spirit, if you could, whether you like religion or not, that's okay. But don't forget spirituality. That's the heart of religion. In fact, that's the heart of life. Spiritually, you'll find, as you become spiritual, you'll find that you're connected naturally to everything already. You don't even have to try to be connected. You find that the whole world is inside of you. You're not inside the world. The world is actually inside of you. The world is floating inside of your own consciousness. You're connected already to everyone. You're connected to every place. You don't even have to travel to be connected to everyone everywhere. And so through all of these ways, we can become youth as global citizens. And now I'm sure my time is well more than over. I made a mistake in looking at my clock. But I want to conclude by using the word, by quoting the words of the Holy Mother, Sri Sarada Devi, whose photo is there on the table. In her last illness, just a couple of days before she passed away, a woman devotee came to see her. And Sarada Devi was very ill at that time, but Mother said to this woman devotee who was grieving because she knew that Mother was about to pass away, Mother said, "If you want peace of mind, my child, don't find fault with others. Learn to find fault rather with yourself." Don't find fault with others. Learn to find fault rather with yourself. Let me stop on that for a moment and say, learn to find fault with yourself doesn't mean overdoing it. Saying, oh, I'm no good, I can't do this, I can't do that. No, it just means so that you can correct yourself. Learn to see, oh, I got angry at so-and-so. I don't need to do that. Let me try to do better next time. In that sense, learn to see your own faults. So don't see the faults of others. Learn to see your own faults. The world is your own. She said, I'm sorry, don't see the faults of others. Learn to see your own faults. Learn to make the whole world your own. Learn to make the whole world your own. That we can do. We can learn